Hello students, I warmly welcome you in second part of fill up activity video for listenings, and in this video we will be covering table activities, then we will be covering constructions, flowcharts and then timelines. So without wasting time, so here is a table in front of you, okay, and let us start with it. And as you can see, there is a table brand of cot. I told you one thing. I gave you one tip in last video that first of all, your first reaction should be to assess or to know what is this particular content about. So as you can see, brand of cot are some sort of things in which kids are kept. Okay, so brand of cot, there is a brand, then good point, then problem, verdict. Verdict means judgment. Ultimately, is it good buying? Is it worth buying? Is it bad? Etc. etc. So means let's underline keywords. And in this case, so baby safe, easy to. Easy to prediction says that it is a verb. Means for answer number 1, you need to find out verb. And then problems, did not have any. Not have any means you need any noun. Okay, this quote is missing something. Third question, babies could trap their dash in the sidebar means could trap there. There means any body part, or they can trap their hand, or they can trap their finger. That is your second tip, I'd say predicting. Okay, so means they could trap their finger. So and finally, verdict. So prediction says, as I have told you earlier, now worth buying, good buy, bad buy, don't buy. That way you need to give. Okay, now I'm starting the audio. Okay, here we go.
Hello and welcome to today's Buyer Beware program, where we give you some tips on how to spend your money wisely. Now, in today's show, we're looking at beds for children and babies. Let's start by looking at baby cots. That's for children of up to 3 years old. We tested 3 different cots, all in the budget price range, and as usual, we will feature the good points, the problems, and our verdict. The first cot we looked at was by Baby Safe, and it had several good points to recommend it. Our testers liked the fact that it had 4 wheels, so it was easy to move around. The only slight problems with this cot were that it had no brakes, but they didn't think that mattered too much. At first they were a bit concerned about the sidebar because they felt babies could trap their fingers in it. But our testers felt that this was unlikely to happen, so they've given this one a verdict of satisfactory.
Welcome back everybody. I hope your first activity was superb. And now starting with the next activity, which is construction. You can often find such sort of activities in your listenings in section 3 or section 4. So in front of you there is construction of reed bed, and go through the instructions, complete the summary, by using no more than 1 word for each answer. Got that? So construction of reed bed. So most students don't know what is a reed bed. So here is picture in front of you. So rectangular hole 1 meter deep, lined with preposition is there, and after preposition you will be having noun. So means it is lined with something. Got that? You need noun. Then a system of perforated tubing embedded in gravel. And then question number 32 is there, dash planted in the bed. As you can see in picture, something is planted. So some sort of plant you need to put. Okay, so prediction says in question number 32, you need to write any noun or you need to write name of plant. And then there is a process below the diagram. So process, sewage flows dash from tank into the bed. So means sewage flows, how it flows. Or technically, if we think, you need adverb here in this case. How sewage flows from tank into the reed bed. So means sewage flows smoothly underground, or sewage flows, so process how it flows, you need to tell. And then oxygen from reed combines with bacteria to reduce waste to elements, and water is dash and then released. So here this process says the water is third form of verb. It can be tested, or it can be filtered, then released. Okay, So means for question number 34 you need verb, third form of verb. Okay, so without wasting time, let us start with it.
Thank you for inviting me to speak to you today about what is now called the reed bed sewage treatment system. This system uses naturally occurring reeds to treat domestic and industrial waste. It's an environmentally friendly alternative to normal systems. You all know what reeds are like, don't you? Those tall plants with hollow stems that grow in wet places, like marshes, for example. Here's how the system works. First of all, an artificial marsh is created. To do this, holes are dug about 1 metre deep and usually rectangular in shape. They are then lined with clay or plastic, and the liner is covered with gravel. After that, a system of tubing is laid, with holes in it, and more gravel is added to cover that. Finally, reeds are planted in the bed. The sewage is brought to settling tanks. From there, it is distributed to the roots of the reeds through the tubing. Note that the waste material enters the beds underground and remains underground. The reeds conduct oxygen very efficiently through their stems to the roots system. Here, bacteria work to reduce the waste material to basic elements. What comes out of the artificial marsh is water that has been cleaned through a natural process. The purified water leaves the reed bed through a simple outflow pipe. The water that comes out has to be tested. Sometimes it's held in a pond until it evaporates or soaks into the ground. Sometimes, after testing, the water is discharged directly into streams and rivers.
Okay students, so next activity, that is the third activity of today's listening. So here is a flowchart in front of you. Write one word only for each answer. Exchange rate project means you will be now listening to audio where 2 or 3 students will be talking and they will be talking about exchange rate. Now here's a tip for you. As you can see students, each box, if you will have a look on second box, fourth box, fifth box, sixth box, each box is starting from a verb. So now one thing is very much understood that students, in case of question number 31, 33, 35, 36, you will have to use first form of verb. Okay, so now let us start. Question number 31. Dash a currency. Obviously the means choose a currency, take a currency. You need to think verb like that. And then step 2, imagine you need to dash 100 pounds. You need to invest, you need to spend. So again, question number 32 is again a verb. Then 33 is again a verb. Fact about, dash facts about the state of your country's economy. Understand, know, okay, something like that. Then further, look at other students' note on their countries. Next step, decide what your exchange rate is going to be against each currency. Okay, so understand, keep understanding things what are going on, and try to dash your currency. Now try to sell your currency, try to trade your currency. Fine. And that is the prediction for question number 34. And then lastly, dash other currency if you want, means again a verb you need. So buy other currency if you want, purchase other currency if you want. And lastly, dash your profit, again you need verb. Calculate your profit, know your profit. Okay, so now you would have understood it is exchange rate project, and in each and every case you need to find out verb. Okay, so that prediction, that understanding is really the key which will help you people to excel at such activities. Okay, let us start with audio.
Okay, can you quieten down, please? Now, today I'm going to talk to you about your assignment. We've been studying the effects of the exchange rate, so I'm going to give you a project to do on this. Right, can you make some notes while I'm talking? The first thing that I'd like you to do in order to prepare this is to select where you're interested in. I mean, which country? and therefore which currency you're going to be operating in. Okay, now the purpose of the project is to make money, and I'm hoping some of you will make a significant amount. So, I want you to suppose that you have £100 that you will have to invest purely in the rises and falls of the exchange system. In other words, you'll be trying to predict rates. This is a project that you'll be doing together, but before you work together, you'll have to go off and research what you need to know about the economy of that country and how well it's doing or is expected to do in the near future. You could all make up a little information sheet with your notes on, clearly legible, because then I want you to get together, we can do that next week, and to go round and read about each other's countries. When you see how well or badly each country is doing, I want you to decide what your exchange rate is going to be against all the other currencies. After that is all sorted, what you're going to do is go round the other students and attempt to sell your money to the others. Remember, this will depend on the success of your country's economy and the rate you fixed for your currency. Now, you're not allowed to just swap currencies with each other, but you may wish to buy from the other countries. But you must do a proper transaction. All the way through this, you must keep your accounts properly for each transaction. I'll give you 1 week to do this, and then we will set a time for the deals to finish, a bit like the stock exchange. And at that point, I will ask you to calculate how much you have made. Is that clear?
Okay, and lastly, students, moving forward to the last activity of today's part, and that is a timeline. As you can see, complete section 4 has been given in front of you. So complete the timeline below, write no more than 3 words and or a number for each answer. Now, here is again a tip for you. If you will have focus on left hand side row, you are having questions 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. Now, these questions are to be answered like year, like it is very first case it is given 1832, or it will be answered like in her teens, or at age 17, or 1879, or 1888. Got that? So means, and corresponding to these questions you can underline keywords. Okay, so Alcott is a lady or a person whom you will be listening to, or about whom you will be listening to. Alcott enlisted army nurse, published letter book, returned from trip, published little lady. Okay, and then Alcott set up home, her family in Boston. Okay, and further for question number 32, 38, 40. Sorry, for question number 31, 38, 40, what you will be doing is, look, in each case, the sentence is actually starting from word Alcott. So most probably in this case, I would say 31 and 40 would be, 31 would be Alcott was born, and 40 would be Alcott died. Obvious thing is, okay, because it is, I think, the biography of this person Alcott. So Alcott was born 31, then in her teens, Alcott worked to means you need to put noun, or you need to also put verb. It can be a verb or a noun for question number 32. Then Alcott wrote, 33rd question. At age 17, Alcott wrote, she wrote book, or he wrote book or a poem. And then 34 we have done, 35 we have done, 36 we have done, 37 we have done. And then in 1879, L dash died. So means somebody died, or relative of Alcott died. We can't say Alcott died in question number 38. And then for 39, you need to write down year or when it happened. The Alcott set up home for her family in Boston. And lastly, Alcott died. Okay. So I hope Again, I am actually telling you some tips which can really help you, because by going through remaining things in that particular row, you can assess what, or you can predict what sort of answer you actually need to fill up the blank. Okay, in both rows you are having that particular similar thing, and I also told you same thing in your previous flowchart activity. Okay, I hope you are learning. Okay, without wasting time, let us start the audio. Here we go.
Good afternoon. Today I'd like to continue our discussion of the lives of prominent American writers by talking about Louisa May Alcott, one of the best-known 19th century writers. Alcott is known for her moralistic girls' novels, but she was a much more serious individual than those novels might lead one to believe. She was born in 1832, the daughter of Bronson Alcott, who was one of the founders of the Transcendentalist movement. Bronson Alcott was a philosopher, but not a provider, and the family lived close to poverty. From an early age, Louisa was determined to find a way to improve her family's economic situation. As a teenager, she worked to support her family by taking on a variety of low-paying jobs, including teacher, seamstress, and household servant. Alcott also started writing when she was young. She wrote her first novel when she was just 17 years old, although it wasn't published until many years after her death. It was called The Inheritance. In 1861, the Civil War broke out. Alcott worked as a volunteer, sewing uniforms and bandages for soldiers. The following year, she enlisted as an Army nurse. She spent the war years in Washington, nursing wounded soldiers at a military hospital. While working at the hospital, she wrote many letters to her family at home in Massachusetts. After the war, she turned the letters into a book, which was published under the title Hospital Sketches. She also wrote numerous romantic stories, which she sold to magazines. Around this same time, she was offered the opportunity to travel to Europe as the companion to an invalid. When she returned home from Europe in 1866, she found her family still in financial difficulty and in need of money, so she went back to writing. Her big break came in 1868 with the publication of her first novel for girls, Little Women. The novel achieved instant success, and the public wanted more. From then on, Alcott supported herself and her family by writing novels for girls. It wasn't the writing she had dreamed of doing, but it earned her a good income. Alcott took care of her family for the rest of her life. In 1878, her youngest sister May got married. A year later, May died after giving birth to a daughter. Louisa Alcott raised her sister's orphaned child. In 1882, Bronson Alcott suffered a stroke. Soon after that, Louisa Alcott set up a house for him, her niece, her sister Anna, and Anna's 2 sons in Boston. Her mother was no longer living by this time. Alcott was still writing novels for girls, including 2 sequels to Little Women, Little Men and Joe's Boys. The latter was published in 1886. Louisa Alcott had suffered poor health ever since she contracted typhoid fever while working as a war nurse. She died in March of 1888 at the age of 55. She was buried in Concord, Massachusetts.